Hello. Well, here we go. Well, let's see. It's Monday, the 23rd of June. Or, I'm sorry, June? Yeah, 23rd of June. That's right. And we're, I think, we're in the home stretch, I believe, on our scene here. So I believe as I'm looking at it now, I would say that I think we got all the drawings done that we need to get done. So I would say that at this point, we are ready for color. Now, I think what I would suggest, and I'm going to go back here to fit the window here, is I think I'm going to do is I go and look at the drawings here. I think what we'll do is maybe take our eraser, set it low, and maybe just come in and do some little touching. Yeah, because I think what I'm going to do here is I don't think I'm going to. I don't really want to have to clean this up on a separate layer. Um, yeah. As I look through it, to be honest, it's like if I were to um, play this again, I'd say maybe the only places that I could see where I might want to take out some lines might be, like, say, once he gets over here, you know, there's some lines in the ear here. That, clearly were like little construction lines. I might do something like that and just take out some lines because I'll be honest, it's like animation, as I've said before, it's like unless you got a crew of people that, are doing the scenes, unless you got like many, many scenes and you got people who've animated those scenes and are willing to put the work into those each individual scenes, just getting your animation done is a big task in and of itself. And like I was saying, I said I animate clean for a reason, primarily because I'm really anticipating the work, just the sheer amount of work that you have to put into making even just one scene, to be honest. So you got to kind of ask yourself, do you want to clean up all these scenes now? And this is also another reason why computer animation, I think, is probably so much more popular, uh, is because you can build and rig a character one time, and then you can animate that character many times because you're not drawing the character again and again. And so, in some ways, it's not like live action in the purest sense, where you go action and then you get a scene, but it's a lot easier on the animator and on the production team than it is doing pure hand drawn 2D animation. So I would certainly, and also too, I mean, how many of us are making our own animation, you know, uh, shorts? I am. I have one background artist that works with me, my good friend Maria Pham, excellent background artist, and I plug her. Well, you say that the right way. She's my background artist, okay? and I recommend her. I think she's a fine artist. She does a great job, and she does all my backgrounds. And she's the only other person that I have working on productions whenever I'm doing something that I'm getting paid for. I have Maria come and do my backgrounds, and if you've seen any of, well, you probably haven't. Well, okay, you all have probably seen some clips from a little thing I started doing called the story so far. It's these two little boys and a pup, and if you follow my YouTube, you've probably seen little clips of that. And that's kind of a little short ongoing film that I just started for fun. And if you've seen it, then you've seen some of Maria's backgrounds. She did the backgrounds for me for that. And productions like that, I will pay her myself. But if I were doing, say, like, a professional gig, um, well, no, I mean, yeah, if I'm doing a professional gig, then she gets paid by the same person that's paying me. But I do my own productions, so um, let me see. I do my own productions, so um, yeah. So I don't let she works for me, so I don't have to do that part. I could do it because I could do backgrounds, but that's not my specialty. And that's what I love about animation, as I love the collaboration that goes into it. That's one of the most fun things about it, I think, for me, is working with other people who are very talented at what they do. So anyway, but I bring that up because just the sheer manpower, even just to do a simple thing like going back over every single drawing and cleaning it up, it becomes quite a bit. It really does. So anything that you can do to minimize the sheer amount. I mean, right now I'm going through it. I'm just taking out a few little lines on all the drawings so that before I put color, um, you know, I take these lines out, and it just gives me a little nicer line that I can then put paint behind. And even putting paint behind each drawing, even that is time consuming because you're doing each drawing by hand. You know, I just recently saw some of you who are, like me, watch a lot of YouTube videos. I just stumbled upon something called the Spice Frontier, um, and I give a plug to the folks doing that. It's a company in Florida called Steamroller Animation, and I shout out to the folks at Steamroller. I don't know them personally, but their production, their pilot, they just uploaded a pilot that they've made, and their team, and it looks like, I would say, I'm guessing it's a team, looks like of around 30 people, I guess, at least that, if maybe not, maybe a little more, that have done this thing, and it's a I believe a 30 minutes, a pilot episode, so it's about 30 minutes, close to 30 minutes, if not right at 30 minutes. Beautiful animation, and it's basically it's not hand drawn animation. It's when I first saw it, I thought it might have been hand drawn animation. I was very impressed with the quality of it because the quality is, Disney DreamWorks level. It's not. It it's inspiring to watch, as I've been saying that I say this to my students and anyone who's up and coming animation. This is really what we all should be doing. We should be making our own animated projects. Now, these folks obviously have some kind of funding behind them because I can't imagine that it's just 30 people that are just so dedicated to doing animation that they're doing all this for free. They may be. I'm guessing somebody is bankrolling something because they've got a building, they've got people, they have a structure, infrastructure to how they're making this thing. They're putting out videos to advertise themselves. There's something's going on there. There's resources to make it. But my reason for bringing them up is because the animation, um, they are using computer. I think they're using Unreal Engine. Um, I don't know what else, but I'm not a big technical animation or techie person. I know basics of some of the programs that are available out there, but they're not hand drawing this time. They are hand drawing storyboards, they are hand drawing the designs, but they're building their characters in this computer software and they're coloring it and rendering it in a sort of 2D toon shader, I call kind of style, so that it gives the appearance of being hand drawn. And it's very gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And um, that's great because I think what that does is it also is an encouragement for people who like 2D animation to kind of look at it and be reminded of how cool 2D animation can look, even though that's not actually 2D animation. But once again, as I said before, the beauty of it is that even though it's not pure 2D animation, it feels like and looks like it is. And kind of brings back that, at least to me anyway, when I was watching it, love of 2D animation. Now, I think my primary reason for bringing it up is because it's 3D, because it's computer, and it's because it's being done by a small group of people. Because of that and the way it's technically put together, they can do the things, all the really meticulous things about the animation and about the color and everything that under normal circumstances in 2D you would want to do, but it would be just a tremendous amount of hand work and man hours. Whereas you and I all know that computer animation, like I say, once you rig a design, render a character, you can move that character as many times as you want, and you're not going to have to re-render by hand, that is, and draw the characters and the poses. You can just set up your action, do action reference, whether that's motion capture, whatever you want to do, or just setting up your poses and letting the computer extrapolate between, do the MBs and all that. Then you can be as detailed as you'd like, because the computer really is going to be doing most of the work, unlike you. Like here, I'm going to have to paint by hand each one of these frames. But the computer, because you will have created your character in the computer, you can render it as much as you like, any way you like, and then the computer's doing all that hard work of having to go on over every single frame. That's what I'm talking about. So therein is the problem you wouldn't want to have if you're an individual. You'd need to have, other people to help you. All right. Well, I've said enough on that. Okay. So now, as far as the color goes, I got a couple of choices here. Um, I could, um, I could put the color on a separate layer. Um, in this program, this is Rough Animator, by the way, that I'm using. And I could put the color into, and let's see, let me bring this down to, I could put the color in Rough Animator. I could put the color on a layer behind him, or I could just paint behind him. Let's see. I think I see a little. Oh, it's just. Yeah, I'm looking at the lines. The lines will boil a little bit even when you do a little erasing. The color will kind of take a little bit of the curse off of that. All right, so I'm gonna pick a color for his skin here. Um, Now you can build in Rough Animator. You can build your color palette down here. You can pick a color from the wheel or your color bar, and then if you press and hold down here, it will appear, and then that'll be your palette that you can use. Also down here, if you want to color behind, you have a choice of down here draws behind, or draws inside, draws in the front. I'm going to use draw behind, and I'm going to change my brush to a solid brush. Okay. And I'm going to bring the size of the brush up a little bit. So now I can just get here and put color. This is going to go behind the line. Now I think what I'll do here, let me take this back up to fit the screen so I can see what I'm doing. Now what I could do here is I can go and use my brush here. Let's see. And I can go around. What I'm doing is I'm going to the edge of the black lines that fill in the head. So I'm really painting I'm painting the edges of all the areas that are inside of his face, inside this color. There we go. And now on the eyes, since the eyes are going to be white, I'm going to grab white here, and I'm going to put the white behind the eye on both eyes. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to take. I'm going to go back to my flesh color. Use the paint bucket, and it should fill in everything but the eyes. And I'll take my paint brush and come in and just tidy up around the eye. Now the only drawback you can see here is that sometimes what happens is I might not, the area around the eye here, I didn't calculate it very well, so I got a little bit of that white spilling out. So sometimes in a case like that, I will come over here, go draws in the front, and bring the brush down. And what I'll do here is, let's see. That's well, fit the window. Let's see. Well, I'm just gonna go right up to the eye there, just to make sure that I get rid of where the color was spilling outside of the eye there. Okay, so then I want to make sure I go back to it being draws behind. All right, so now I got to do this for every frame. So okay, so and I just do this one frame at a time. I think I'll do the white first. The only bad thing about the white is you can't see whether you're going outside the line or not. Go back and do the same thing here. Just go to the edge of where the flesh color is going to be hitting. So I'm not trying to get the inside here. I'm just dealing with the outer edge because I'm just going to use the paint bucket to fill in. Because that's faster. You know. Sure, I can paint in there like I'm painting a wall, but you know, I don't see the point of that when I can just paint bucket, paint bucket, paint bucket. See, like that. And then use the brush for the real small stuff, and then go over this, just wipe, 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 because I've painted those eyes you see already. Boom, see, that's a lot faster. I got 2.2 down. Okay, now this is going to be nice and easy because it's all, there's no whites in the eyes there, so I can just go in here and do color all around the edges. Now, and see, okay, and you might ask, well, Leonard, why did you not decide to clean this up and make a pretty clean line? It was just, that's really just my choice. But yeah, as I said before, it is partly because I just don't want to do all the work. I remember the very first time that I saw Disney's Jungle Book. Really, I think it was. It's funny. It was Jungle Book that got me, that impressed me. I think because it's like Jungle Book had to me, or has to, in my opinion, a kind of a lush, lavish look to it that unlike say the older films where the color line and everything looks so gorgeous. You know, it's like the Jungle Book was different because what it seemed like it was doing was it was like an animator's sketchy rough drawing with color behind it. I mean, that's exactly what it was. And it kind of intrigued me because it just had a different look to it. And it's like ever since then, and of course, for many, many years after Disney's death, Disney apparently didn't like the look of the what would have been the Xerox technique, where the animator's sketchier drawing was more or less kept, touched up somewhat, but more or less kept, and then painted. He was not a big fan of that. Apparently, he liked the old style where everything was inked, hand inked, everything up to 101 Dalmatians. I think the primary reason why they went with um, the Xerox and doing all the stuff with just working right over the sketchier drawing was to save time. Save time. But some of the animators that I was fortunate to work under, some of the older guys, they liked it because I guess they liked it because they could see their drawing better on the screen. They so and it is faster. But I mean, the old stuff is so gorgeous. When you look at movies like Bambi and Snow White and Peter Pan and all of the great ones, that color line is it's like an illustration. It's really beautiful. So yeah, but it's a lot of work. you know, but I mean, they had the vehicle through which to do that. So it wasn't like they couldn't do it. They it was easy for them to do it. That was more of an aesthetic that the artist I think appreciated. And I would say there are a lot of us that kind of feel the same way because you think about the amount of work you do as an animator, you kind of do want to see your work on the screen. And in the way they did it before, when they had someone inking drawings, realistically, your drawings are not actually being seen. It's a combination of the assistant animator's cleanup drawing, which was kind of nice because I used to be an assistant animator, and the inker, and the ink and paint ladies were great. They, my gosh, I mean, those folks are awesome. All the ink and paint ladies, and I learned from them too. A remarkable achievement to what they did. But yeah, I mean, it was really when you saw Pinocchio or any of the really old Disney cartoons, you were really seeing their line work. You weren't seeing the animators drawing. Actually, you really weren't even seeing the assistant cleanups drawing. You really were seeing the inkers, because when they would go over the cells, it was the ink line that actually was the one that you saw on the screen. So, yeah. So, but it is nice to not have to, if you're making your own film, to not have to go back over that drawing again. It's just an extra layer of time because there isn't anything fast about animating by hand. Nothing fast about it at all. I mean, no. Everything you do is a process of time. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. But at the same time, that's also a quality of the charm of it as well. So while yeah, it's a lot of work and all that, and it is, I don't think any of us mind that. You know, the end, I guess you could say, justifies the means. There is a quality to the final product. I don't guess you could really put a price tag on it, could you? You know, you'd have to say, well, you know, this is what I wanted, so this is what I got. You know, so yeah. So, anyways, so, but like I said, I'm doing this myself, so I don't want to have to. Now, I'll you know I'll probably do other. I no, probably I will do other animations demos. By the way, this will not be the only one. um, so there will be some where I will do cleanup, and I'll talk about that too. The nice thing about say doing the hand drawn cleanup is with the cleanup you're going to be more aware of the breaks in your line. See, like with the rough, sketchy thing that I'm doing now, excuse me, you you kind of have to pay attention to where the breaks are or the inconsistencies of the line and the paint. You know, so you got to kind of watch out for that. Pay attention to where it is. But when you clean up something, you don't have to worry about that because when you clean it up, you're sort of automatically knowing that okay, um, I got to make sure that I close off the lines, right, so that the color doesn't spill into areas that I don't want it to spill into. So a cleanup, you sort of automatically, with the cleanup, you're automatically saying, okay, I want to make sure I draw a border somewhere to show that that's where the line is going to start and stop. So that when I dump the color in there, it's not going to spill out. And I know I'm talking, but I'm not showing you that. But that's because I'm not doing that in this. I'm not making a clean line. I'm just coloring up to the edge of the line. But I'm coloring behind the line. That's another beauty of of today's technology. See, in the old days, they had to when we were paint a cell, you had to flip the cell over on the other side. The line would be either Xeroxed or inked on the top, and then the color you'd have to flip the cell over and paint on the opposite side because then the color line, the lines would show through on the top, of your drawing, but the paint would be on the back. And also, too, the other thing is you had to wait for the paint to dry. That's another thing that we don't have to do. Computers, you just there's no waiting for anything to dry. you know, we have, gosh, I mean, the just the sheer convenience of what we're doing this stuff, the way we get to do it today with the technology we have, it's just wonderful. I mean, had we had this back when I started in this business, oh man, but it was coming, and all of us who started in animation right around the same time I did, we got to see that. We got to see all these wonderful technical things happen in our lifetime while we were still young and able to really appreciate it. The computer coloring and all that was actually happening more towards the end. So, like most of us, when we started in the business, most of us were in our 20s. And so we were, we didn't see any of that. By the time we all got older, like now I'm in my 60s, and of course most of my colleagues we're all about the same age. I mean, there's some of us, because obviously we got to see people who were coming in behind us, So, like, there's another wave of old timers, I guess you could say. So we could see all this happening, but it was still kind of late in the game for some of us because I would say a good 20 some years of us working old style was set. We were kind of set in those 20 years. So, yeah, so it was just a very different thing. So, okay, well, we are at 30 minutes here, so I am going to stop because I don't want this video to get too long since we are doing everything in real time. So, yeah, so we got a little bit done, a little bit of our color done on our guy here. I might put some, I might put a background behind him at some point. I don't know. But I might do that at the end. Okay, hokey schmokey. So, so all right. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a nice night, and we'll keep coloring and talking about this stuff tomorrow. Have a beautiful evening. See you later.